Before I start, if you're interested in movies, you can check out a radio show on Vintage Radio. That'd be so lovely of you. It'd be incredible if you could like my Facebook page as well. The details should all be below. Now, with my past videos, we could go back to the 20s, the 30s, 1940s, and be enriched with all the knowledge from them periods. But with Godzilla, there's one date which stays in the forefront of everyone's mind. It is the birth of Godzilla, 1954. If you know anything that came before Godzilla, whether it be, art or illustrations or comics, anything really, even if it's like books, I can't even find anything. If you manage to find something, do comment and tell me where to find it. In 1954, we had Rear Window, Dial M for Murder, two Hitchcock greats, Seven Samurai, again another great one, A Star is Born with Judy Garland, but none of them were even remotely similar to Godzilla. It was a standalone almost. It's the closest I'd say would be the B-movie madness in Creature from the Black Lagoon, which is at a stretch the closest thing to resemble it. Often called kaiju, from the Japanese strange beast. It's a Japanese film genre that features monsters, usually attacking major cities and engaging the military and other monsters in battle. Gojira, a mash between Japanese words gorilla, and Kujira, whale, which is fitting because in one planning stage, Godzilla was described as a cross between a gorilla and a whale, alluding to its size, power, and aquatic origin. The movie is recognised by the Guinness World Records to be the longest continuously running movie franchise, which is an honour in itself. American nuclear weapons testing results in the creation of a seemingly unstoppable dinosaur-like beast. Doesn't it make your heart pump just saying that, just the synopsis? Directed by Ishiro Honda, who made many more Godzilla movies, which we'll go into, and I haven't mentioned yet. Over 40 movies personally, which includes Frankenstein versus Subterranean Monster Baragon. Yep. Just going to throw that in there. I must mention Eiji Tsuburaya as a special effects artist behind a lot of Honda's Godzilla movies. During Godzilla's rampage through downtown Tokyo, one of the buildings he destroys is the Toho Theatre. In fact, some fans who were watching the film in the theatre actually thought the theatre was being attacked and tried to run out the theatre. Very similar to the train pulling up in the station, that I think it's a French film, which terrified an awful lot of people as they thought it was real coming through, and they caused mass panic. George Lucas cites this film's miniatures as an inspiration for his effects in Star Wars films. Godzilla Raids Again, 1955, the second film in the Godzilla franchise and Showa series, and introduced the monster versus monster, a concept that the franchise would adopt for the rest of the films. Known in the US as Gigantis the Fire Monster, Godzilla battles an irradiated ankylosaur and destroys Osaka in the process. Directed by Motoyoshi Oda, also known for A Will-o'-the-Wisp and Tomy Ningen. Will-o'-the-Wisp is medieval Latin for foolish fire. It is an atmospheric ghost light seen by travellers at night, especially over bogs, swamps, or marshes. Half Human 1955, Half Human or Monster Snowman, Honda's second film. Don't think Godzilla appears in the movie, but the production company brought you the 1954 classic. And the front cover looks badass, so I thought, throw it in there. Next year, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, 1956. Americanized version of the film. A 400-foot, 120-meter dinosaur-like beast awoken from undersea hibernation off the Japanese coast by atomic bomb testing attacks Tokyo. The film stars Raymond Burr, known for Ironside and Perry Mason, and he's also the antagonist in Rear Window, but he doesn't half look like Brad Garrett, Robert Barone in Everyone Loves Raymond. But no relation apparently, honestly, it's crazy. The same year we had Rodan, 1956, a bug-eating pterodactyl, and The Mysterians, 1957. 1960s arrived, and picking up the hippie van with its sharp teeth and crunching it in Godzilla's mouth was King Kong vs. Godzilla, 1962. Two giants of cinema collided. King Kong and Godzilla. King Kong going all the way back to 1933. I should do a video on the evolution of King Kong, actually. I might do that next. The monster ape and dinosaur toss around a boulder and slug it out on Mount Fuji. A pharmaceutical company captures King Kong and brings him to Japan, where he escapes from captivity and battles the recently released Godzilla. The film introduced Godzilla's more well-known and standardised high-pitched roar, which actually was a mix of two of his original 1954 roars, sped up by several cycles. First colour movie of Godzilla as well. 2 years later, in 1964, Mothra vs. Godzilla and Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, in 1964. Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, the name alone makes you want to watch it. Mothra vs. Godzilla, a greedy developer unwittingly hatches a gigantic baby moth upon Tokyo, while Godzilla strikes once again. Can't get the staff, can you, these days? It's not generally known among non-Godzilla enthusiasts, but Mothra had her own movie in 1961 called Mothra. We have to talk about Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, 1964, with four monsters in the film. After a meteorite unleashes a three-headed beast upon Tokyo, Mothra tries to unite with Godzilla and Rodan to battle with the extraterrestrial threat. This was the first movie to feature King Ghidorah, who would later go on to be Toho's main villain monster, fighting both Godzilla and Mothra, as well as making appearances on the Japanese television. In 1965, Invasion of the Astro Monster, aliens from Planet X request the use of Godzilla and Rodan to fight off King Ghidorah, or have a better use for the three monsters. It features Nick Adams as the astronaut. He's known for Rebel Without a Cause. When you mention this movie, you must not talk about Godzilla's victory dance. Ebirah, Horror of the Deep, 1966. Often called the Big Duel in the South Seas, Godzilla and Mothra put aside their differences, to battle a giant crustacean that can generate its broken limbs. Same year, Gamera the Invincible. Gamera, an atomic explosion awakens Gamera, a giant fire-breathing turtle monster from his millions of years of hibernation. There's going to be a lot of that laughing in this when we get to the silly parts. Enraged at being roused from such a sound sleep, he takes it out on Tokyo. Directed by Sandy Howard, mostly known for being a producer. Other director is Noriaki Yuasa. The War of the Gargantuous, 1966. Again, relates to the same year. Now, you cannot laugh at this next one, alright? I promise you cannot laugh at this next one. Son of Godzilla, 1967. I just love the front cover. It always makes me laugh. It really does. It just makes my day. Scientists experimenting with changes in weather on a tropical island get more than they bargained for when Godzilla shows up to battle humongous insects and protects his newborn child. Directed by Yun Fukuda, who does a lot of VS movies, versus movies. Same year, King Kong Escapes was released. Destroy All Humans, 1968. Scientists face Godzilla, Rodan, Mothra, and more obscure Japanese monsters sent by she-aliens. That's she-aliens. All Monsters Attack, 1969, which sounds very similar, and it's mostly known for its opening theme song. They sound quite like All Monsters Attack and Destroy All Monsters. 60s was a decade for Godzilla, you could almost say. The film was released theatrically in the United States in the winter of 1971 by Mayan Films as Godzilla's Revenge, where it was paired up nationwide on double bill with Night of the Big Heat. Speaking of the 1970s, this is the decade for, versus films. We had Godzilla vs. Hedorah, 1971. Hedorah is often called the Smog Monster. Not that Yoshimitsu you're thinking of, the one known for animations. Godzilla vs. Gigan in 1972. Godzilla and Anguirus fight three-headed dragon Ghidorah and a huge bird Gigan at a cartoonist theme park. Godzilla and Anguirus fight three-headed dragon Ghidorah and huge bird Gigan at a cartoonist theme park. Godzilla vs. Megalon, 1973. This is a sight to see, Godzilla and flying cyborg jet jaguar meets a giant cockroach and a big black chicken sent by Seatopians. I'm going to say that again. Godzilla and flying cyborg jet jaguar meets a giant cockroach and a big black chicken sent by Seatopians. That's enough to boggle your mind completely. Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. 1974. Godzilla versus Metal Godzilla, essentially. Terror of Mechagodzilla, 1975, a year after. It was the 15th film in the Godzilla franchise and a sequel to the previous film, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. Godzilla 1977, Italian filmmaker Yugi Kozi released a modified and colorized version of Godzilla, King of the Monsters, to magnetic band sent around theatres in Italy. The 80s were a short stop for the Zilla, I must admit, with only 2 films released. The Return of Godzilla, 1984, a reboot of Toho's Godzilla franchise. 30 years after the original Monsters Rampage, a new Godzilla emerges and attacks Japan. Godzilla vs. Biollante, 1989, just squeezed in before we got to the 1990s. Biollante is a monster plant created from his own cells. More versus movies came in the 1990s, and I mean, a myriad of them came. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, 1981, a great artwork and a sneaky bit of time travel in that one. Godzilla vs. Mothra, 1992, the battle for Earth, and Batra joins them in that one. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, Part 2, 1993. Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, 1994. Just when you thought it couldn't get any dafter, any sillier, Godzilla prepares for battle with an extraterrestrial creature that was formed from his own particles in space. Godzilla vs. Destroyer, 1995. The aftermath of the oxygen destroyer brings forth Destroyer, a beast intent on killing Godzilla, who is on the verge of a nuclear meltdown. Godzilla 1998, American monster movie. Size does matter was the tagline, and it stars Matthew Broderick, Jean Reno, Hank Azaria. This could have been something else. This could have been extraordinary. But it was a letdown to a few people. It got 2.5 stars out of 5 on IMDb, 16% on Rotten Tomatoes, which isn't good at all. During a nuclear test, the French government inadvertently mutates a lizard nest. Years later, a giant lizard makes its way to New York City. Dr. Nico Tatopoulos, Matthew Broderick, an expert on the effects of radiation on animals, is sent by the US government to study the beast. When the creature, dubbed Godzilla by news outlets, emerges, a massive battle with the military begins. To make matters worse, Nico discovers that Godzilla has laid a nest of 200 eggs, which are ready to hatch. The favourite scene for me would be the fishing scene, which was the teaser for the movie. I actually think it was the best bit of the film as well. It just gave me goosebumps. Consider it, I know. Gave me goosebumps. Godzilla Millennium, 1999. Known for its great artwork as well, fire-breathing Godzilla with 2000 underneath it. Playing with the fear of the end of the world come millennia. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, 2000. The prologue of the film acknowledges the events of the first Godzilla, using the present Godzilla monster rather than the 1954 monster. Godzilla, Mothra and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All-Out Attack, 2001. Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, 2002. Godzilla Tokyo SOS, 2003, the 5th film in the Millennium series, direct sequel to Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. It's hard to keep your head around these things, I tell you. Austin Powers Goldmember, 2002. Yes, I'm going to mention Goldmember. 3rd in the fantastic series, the trilogy. They do make a lot of references to Japan with Japanese businessman Mr. Roboto, the Japanese twins, Fuck Me, Fuck You, and the best one being Godzilla. Austin, his dad, of course, played by Michael Caine, and Beyonce's character, I think it's Foxy Cleopatra, or Foxy, in Austin's mini chasing Dr. Evil. They slam into the bottom of a huge blow-up Godzilla, and then they reenact the image of Godzilla destroying Tokyo. We have great dialogue, 2 Japanese guys, whether it's Godzilla, and if they can actually say Godzilla due to copyright, if it's the real Godzilla or not as well. Excellent film. I do love Austin Powers trilogy. Godzilla Final Wars, 2004, a year after SOS, Godzilla's 50th anniversary project, in which Godzilla travels around the world to fight his old foes, plus a new mysterious monster named Monster X. The director is known for Midnight Meat Train, 2008, starring Bradley Cooper, Vinnie Jones, Roger Bart, and Brooke Shields. There was a drought in Godzilla films after Final Wars in 2004. It took 10 years before Godzilla 2014 came out and woke us up and shook us up. You know, wanted to bring the horror back. It wanted to bring the darkness, the fear. And I think they achieved it. We did need it. We needed it. By God, we needed it. Godzilla got a campy reputation until this movie. It shook up the franchise. It's the 30th in the series, apparently, as well. 2014's Godzilla was released to positive reviews from critics and fans and was a box office success, grossing $200 million domestically and $529 million worldwide. The trailer as well, everyone pumped. The trick is with these type of movies, just to see a little bit, and that gets us, and then just build it up, and they hit out the park with their trailer. One of the best trailers I've ever seen, actually. The film's success prompted Toho to produce a reboot of their own with Legendary. The cast: Bryan Cranston, the one we know from Breaking Bad, of course, and Malcolm in the Middle. Bryan Cranston is the scientist Joe Brody. And I must admit, I wish we had more of his role in this. I'll only say that because I don't want to give the game away too much, but some people have said that it was a waste of an actor because he's a sensational actor, and some have even said that it wasn't expected. You know, bringing up images of the past when actors didn't stay for the whole film, should I say. Elizabeth Olsen, must mention. Aaron Taylor-Johnson, who gave a meh performance. I kind of just couldn't attach myself to him. I couldn't like be too. I don't know. There was something off with him. I couldn't relate to, or it was weird. He seemed a bit too wooden to me. Have to mention Ken Watanabe, the Japanese actor, and Juliette Binoche as well. I must mention Juliette Binoche. Binoche, is it Binoche or Binoche? Juliette Binoche. I've only seen in Godzilla and in Dan in Real Life. I do like Dan in Real Life, stars Steve Carell. And I will talk about Pacific Rim as well, 2013. And that was released a bit before Godzilla 2014, but it was released 2013, Pacific Rim. Guillermo del Toro film, which played with the monster battles, you know, these big men in monster suits, as you say. Shin Godzilla, or Godzilla Resurgence 2016. Japan is plunged into chaos upon the appearance of a giant monster. According to sources close to the production, Godzilla's design in this film is mostly based on the design from the original film from 1954 and is intended to appear very frightening, this being the last film I can recall in 2016. I like how it's a film made this year, 2016, and it relates back to 1954. I think that's an exceptional thing to do. And I like how it makes it even scarier as well. You know, at the start of like 1954, it was serious. You know, it was new. It was serious. And then once the sequels came and it got ramped up, it got camper. You know, it got camp, and it lost its you know, to put it simply, Godzilla danced. You know, that's how low it went, and we got scary back through a try in 1998, which did flop, but you know, it did a lot better. It wasn't camp. It tried to take itself serious, and then a well-deserved Godzilla movie came in 2014. It had, you know, a wonderful actor in it. And that's a bit mean. It did. I had a great cat. I had a cat. It sounds bad me saying that, but it is. You know, Bryan Cranston makes that film and makes you want to go and watch that film. As well as the trailer, of course, because the trailer was exceptional. Thank goodness that it arrived, because 2014's Godzilla is what the franchise needed. And given that, we're going to talk about the future of Godzilla movies. Sequels and shared cinematic franchises. You know, we have Godzilla King of the Monsters set to be released on March 22nd, 2019, and Godzilla vs. Kong set to be released May 29th, 2020. Guillermo del Toro on the possibility of a future Pacific Rim Godzilla crossover, which got a lot of people pumped. That was posted in 2013, but who knows what the future may hold. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to check out my radio page if you have the time. I do movie specials, Wednesdays and Thursdays. Give it a like. Give my Facebook page a like if you're lovely. It'll make my day. And I just want to thank you so much again. Thank you.